The tragic events aboard the Majestic Horizon began on June 15, 2015, when Marcus Whitfield, a 25-year-old senior mechanical engineer, and his new spouse, Simone Whitfield, a 31-year-old lead researcher, embarked on a honeymoon cruise. The couple had married just a few months earlier in March 2015 in a small, intimate ceremony at the Hamilton Ridge Hotel in Atlanta. Their relationship had blossomed quickly after they met at a corporate networking event in October 2014, where they were instantly drawn to each other's intelligence and shared interests. The Majestic Horizon, a large, modern cruise ship, was set to take the couple and approximately 2,500 other passengers on an unforgettable Caribbean voyage. The itinerary included scenic stops at Mexico, Belize, and Honduras, promising a week of luxury, relaxation, and new adventures. The cruise departed from Miami, Florida, and Marcus and Simone were excited to begin their journey. Marcus was known for his problem-solving skills as a mechanical engineer at Thomson Engineering Solutions, while Simone was a highly respected researcher at Biotech Industries, working on cutting-edge biotechnology projects. An important and private aspect of Simone's life was his transgender identity. Though he publicly presented as a woman, Simone identified as a transgender man, a deeply personal aspect of his life that was only shared with a few close friends and Marcus. The couple was devoted to each other, and the cruise was their celebration of love, marking a fresh beginning after their wedding. This trip was supposed to be a romantic escape, far from the pressures of their demanding careers. The Majestic Horizon was a state-of-the-art luxury ship, built just 2 years earlier in 2013, and it had quickly gained a reputation for its elegant design, top-tier amenities, and world-class entertainment. The ship featured multiple restaurants, bars, and a variety of entertainment options, including live performances and a grand casino. The casino, known as the Celestial Casino, was especially popular with passengers, drawing them in with its lavish decor and exciting atmosphere. Marcus and Simone had booked a private balcony suite cabin 1264 on Deck 9, a highly sought-after cabin with breathtaking views of the ocean. As the days passed, they immersed themselves in the cruise experience, enjoying the ship's luxurious offerings. On June 21, 2015, the 6th day of their cruise, they stopped in Cozumel, Mexico, a picturesque island known for its vibrant coral reefs and clear blue waters. That day, they participated in a reef exploration excursion organized by the ship, where they went snorkeling in the crystal-clear waters of Cozumel's famous reef system. Their tour guide, Maria Hernandez, later confirmed that Marcus and Simone were in high spirits during the excursion, taking in the beauty of the ocean and sharing quiet moments together. After returning from their snorkeling adventure, the couple explored the local markets, where they bought unique artworks to bring back home as mementos of their trip. For dinner, they stopped at La Pescadora, a charming restaurant where they enjoyed fresh seafood and local wines. Witnesses recalled the couple being affectionate during dinner, though they did consume several bottles of wine, a detail that would later become relevant to the events of that night. After their relaxing day in Cozumel, Marcus and Simone returned to the ship around 7:30 p.m., getting ready for the evening ahead. The couple changed into formal attire and made their way to the Celestial Casino at 9:15 p.m., looking forward to an exciting night of gambling and celebration. Marcus, feeling lucky, chose to play craps, a fast-paced dice game that attracted the attention of other passengers. It was here that Marcus met Brian Carter, a marketing executive from Dallas, Texas. The two quickly hit it off, sharing a few drinks and enjoying the camaraderie of the table as Marcus's luck at the game grew. Meanwhile, Simone, who wasn't as enthusiastic about craps, decided to join a blackjack table. There, Simone met Eric and Jamal Boyd, cousins from Miami, and their friend, Darius Evans. The three men were friendly and outgoing, making Simone feel at ease. After winning a few hands at blackjack, Simone and the others decided to join Marcus at the craps table, where his luck continued. Marcus's streak of wins culminated in a $3,000 payout, which only added to the group's celebratory mood. As the casino approached its closing time of 2 a.m., Marcus, Simone, and their new friends weren't ready for the night to end. The group decided to move their celebration to the Celestial Lounge, a late-night bar on Deck 13 that stayed open after the casino closed. Over the next hour, bartender Anthony Walsh served the group multiple rounds of top-shelf spirits, keeping the drinks flowing as the group continued their revelry. The carefree atmosphere and free-flowing alcohol seemed to erase any worries the couple may have had. Around 3:15 a.m., things took a sudden turn for the worse. Marcus and Simone, who had been enjoying the night up until that point, began having a heated argument in the lounge. Witnesses recalled that the argument appeared to center around personal matters, with both parties becoming visibly upset. After a particularly sharp exchange, Simone abruptly left the lounge, storming off in the direction of their cabin, while Marcus remained behind with Carter, the Boyds, and Evans. Simone's departure left Marcus in a foul mood, but he continued to drink heavily with his new companions. By 3:30 a.m., Marcus was heavily intoxicated, barely able to stand on his own. Recognizing his inebriated state, Brian Carter, along with the Boyd cousins and Evans, decided to help Marcus back to his cabin. The group's loud and somewhat rowdy behavior attracted the attention of several other passengers, including Wesley Parker, who occupied the cabin directly next to Marcus and Simone's. Parker later testified that he heard Marcus's voice slurring as he argued with his companions while they guided him back to the cabin. Once they reached cabin 1264, things began to escalate. Parker reported hearing loud chanting and what sounded like furniture being overturned inside Marcus's cabin around 4 a.m. Though he didn't see what was happening, the commotion was loud enough to disturb other guests in the nearby cabins. Despite the disturbance, no one intervened, as it was assumed the group was simply intoxicated and rowdy after a long night of partying. At around 4:20 a.m., Parker heard what he described as a heavy thud coming from outside Marcus and Simone's cabin. This was the sound investigators would later identify as Marcus falling overboard. The ship's sophisticated motion sensors, designed to detect disturbances in the ship's perimeter, recorded a significant anomaly on the starboard side of Deck 9 at exactly the same time. These sensors, which could detect even small changes in weight or pressure near the railings, indicated that someone had gone overboard around 4:20 a.m., triggering an automated alert that, unfortunately, went unnoticed by the ship's staff in the chaotic early morning hours. When interviewed, Brian Carter and the Boyd cousins gave conflicting statements about the events that occurred in the cabin. While Carter claimed the group had left Marcus alone in the cabin around 3:45 a.m., security logs showed multiple entries to cabin 1264 between 4 a.m. and 4:30 a.m., suggesting that the group may have returned to the cabin multiple times. This discrepancy would later become a critical point of contention in the investigation, raising suspicions about the group's involvement in Marcus's disappearance. The loud commotion, heavy impact, and conflicting stories of the individuals involved pointed to a chaotic and violent sequence of events in the final moments leading up to Marcus's disappearance. Despite the growing evidence of foul play, Marcus was officially declared missing at sea, with no immediate explanation for what caused him to go overboard in the early hours of June 22, 2015. The morning of June 22, 2015, began like any other aboard the majestic Horizon. Passengers woke up, excited for another day of adventure, but for Simone Whitfield, the day quickly turned into a nightmare. Around 8 a.m., Simone awoke to find Marcus missing from their cabin. Initially, Simone assumed Marcus had gone for an early breakfast or a morning walk on the ship's deck, as he often did. But when an hour passed without any sign of him, concern began to grow. Simone asked the ship's crew to page Marcus over the public address system, hoping he would respond, but there was no answer. After checking with the ship's medical facilities, lounges, and restaurants, it became clear Marcus wasn't anywhere on the ship. This led Simone to report Marcus as missing to the ship's security team at around 10:30 a.m. By this time, panic had started to set in, and Simone's fears only escalated when she realized Marcus hadn't returned to their cabin since the previous night. The ship's captain, John Harper, was informed of the situation, and an immediate search of the ship was ordered. The Majestic Horizon's crew checked all common areas, the ship's security footage, and Marcus's room, but they found no trace of him. The captain also ordered the ship's onboard emergency response team to search for Marcus in the waters surrounding the ship, but several hours had already passed since his disappearance, making any search efforts difficult. By 12 p.m., the ship's crew notified the U.S. Coast Guard, and a full-scale search and rescue operation was launched. Helicopters and search vessels were dispatched to comb the ocean in the ship's vicinity. However, the vastness of the sea, combined with the several hours that had elapsed since Marcus was last seen, made the search extremely challenging. The onboard atmosphere shifted from one of relaxation and celebration to one of tension and fear. Passengers began hearing rumors of a man overboard, and whispers of something sinister started to circulate. Some passengers began speculating that Marcus may have fallen victim to foul play, given the intense argument witnessed the previous night between him and Simone. With Marcus officially declared missing at sea, an investigation was launched on board the Majestic Horizon. The ship's security team, led by Chief Officer Richard "Rick" Alvarez, began interviewing key witnesses, including Simone, Brian Carter, the Boyd cousins, and Darius Evans. Simone, still in shock, explained the events of the previous night to Officer Alvarez. He recounted the argument with Marcus in the lounge, but maintained that it was a minor dispute and nothing more than a drunken disagreement. Simone was adamant that Marcus wouldn't have left their cabin in his state of mind. However, Officer Alvarez found Simone's behavior odd. Despite the stress of the situation, Simone seemed emotionally detached and focused on recounting details rather than displaying grief. This cold demeanor raised some suspicions among the investigating team. Simone's alibi for the time of Marcus's disappearance was solid. Multiple passengers confirmed seeing Simone return to their cabin alone around 3:30 a.m. after the argument. But as the crew began piecing together the timeline of the night, other inconsistencies began to emerge. The most glaring discrepancy came from Brian Carter and the Boyd cousins, who each gave conflicting accounts of when they left Marcus's cabin. Brian Carter initially told investigators that he left Marcus alone around 3:45 a.m., claiming he was too drunk to keep partying. However, the ship's keycard entry system revealed that Carter and the Boyd cousins had re-entered Marcus's cabin at least twice after that time. The first re-entry was logged at 4 a.m. and another at 4:15 a.m., just 5 minutes before the motion sensors detected someone going overboard. The inconsistency in Carter's story raised a red flag for investigators, but without solid evidence, they couldn't yet accuse anyone of foul play. The Majestic Horizon was equipped with an extensive surveillance system monitoring all public areas of the ship. Investigators turned to the security footage from Deck 9, hoping to find some clue as to what had happened to Marcus. Unfortunately, the cameras on Deck 9 were focused primarily on the hallways and common areas near the cabins, with limited visibility of the balconies or overboard railings. Footage from the casino and lounge areas, however, provided a clear view of Marcus and Simone's activities throughout the evening. The couple was seen entering the casino around 9:15 p.m. and spending time at the craps and blackjack tables. Later, footage from the Celestial Lounge captured the heated argument between Marcus and Simone. The footage confirmed witness accounts that Simone left the lounge at around 3:30 a.m., while Marcus stayed behind with Carter, the Boyds, and Evans. While this footage corroborated the timeline up to that point, it did little to explain what happened after they returned to their cabin. Investigators hoped that other surveillance cameras on Deck 9 might offer additional clues, but the key moments leading up to Marcus's disappearance remained frustratingly out of view. In a further blow to the investigation, footage from the outside decks was only partially useful. While the ship's motion sensors had detected an anomaly near Marcus's cabin at 4:20 a.m., the closest external camera only captured vague shadows, not a clear image of what occurred. As the investigation continued, Simone's emotional state became a topic of discussion. While Simone maintained a calm and cooperative demeanor during interviews, some crew members and passengers noticed that Simone seemed emotionally distant, even robotic at times. This raised concerns about whether Simone was genuinely processing the trauma of Marcus's disappearance or was hiding something deeper. Simone's emotional distance could be attributed to many factors, including the sheer shock and disbelief of the situation. Losing a spouse so suddenly in such a mysterious and public way can leave someone in a state of numbness. Additionally, Simone's private identity as a transgender man and the secrecy surrounding it might have added layers of emotional complexity to the situation. Simone's ability to process the grief publicly could have been hampered by fears of judgment or exposure, which Simone had always worked hard to avoid. Despite these emotional challenges, Simone was present for all of the necessary proceedings. He worked with investigators, called family members, and waited anxiously for any updates on the Coast Guard's search efforts. But no matter how much time passed, there was still no sign of Marcus, and hope of finding him alive began to dwindle. News of Marcus's disappearance quickly spread beyond the ship, attracting media attention. By June 23, 2015, headlines across national news outlets reported on the missing passenger aboard the Majestic Horizon. The case became a media sensation, with journalists speculating on every possible scenario, from tragic accidents to foul play, or even suicide. The media coverage put additional pressure on Simone, who now had to navigate the public's intense scrutiny. Speculation grew about the couple's relationship, fueled by reports of their argument on the night Marcus disappeared. Some media outlets focused on the fact that Simone had stormed out of the lounge just hours before Marcus went missing, and this led to damaging rumors. Others latched onto the mysterious aspects of the case, questioning whether Marcus had fallen victim to a crime or even deliberately gone overboard. Online forums and social media platforms buzzed with theories about what might have happened. Many pointed fingers at Brian Carter and the Boyd cousins, whose inconsistent stories and history of heavy drinking cast suspicion on their involvement. Others floated conspiracy theories, suggesting that Marcus may have been targeted by someone on board, possibly due to his wife's work in biotechnology, or their mysterious transgender identity. The Majestic Horizon's crew remained tight-lipped about the ongoing investigation, but passengers continued to share their own theories and rumors with the media. Some passengers speculated that Marcus had too much to drink and accidentally fell overboard, while others suspected foul play due to the loud argument heard from the couple's cabin. Amid all the speculation, one thing became clear: Marcus's disappearance was not a simple accident, and the truth behind what happened that fateful night remained elusive. As the investigation progressed, the Majestic Horizon's crew and security team continued to explore every possible angle of Marcus's disappearance. While the ship's surveillance footage and witness interviews had provided some clues, there were still major gaps in the timeline. To fill these, investigators turned to forensic analysis of the ship and Marcus's cabin. The ship's forensics team performed a detailed search of the couple's cabin, paying special attention to the balcony, where Marcus was last known to be. They tested for any signs of a struggle or foul play, looking for bloodstains, fingerprints, and fibers that might suggest someone else had been in the room at the time Marcus disappeared. What they found was troubling: a faint trace of blood on the balcony's railing. This bloodstain, though small, raised alarms. Was it Marcus's? Had he injured himself before going overboard? Or worse, Had someone else caused harm to him? To answer these questions, the forensic team collected DNA samples to compare against Marcus's profile. Meanwhile, the investigators also looked for additional clues in Marcus's belongings. Among his personal items, they discovered an encrypted USB drive in his luggage, which puzzled them. Given Marcus's work in cybersecurity, it wasn't unusual for him to carry sensitive data. However, the drive raised suspicions about whether there was more to Marcus's life than met the eye. Could Marcus's work have put him in danger? Had he been targeted because of something on the drive? To unravel this, the investigation team requested the help of cybersecurity experts to decrypt the drive. However, this process was complex and time-consuming, leaving many questions about Marcus's true activities unanswered for the time being. As pressure mounted on Simone from the media and investigators, Simone's calm demeanor began to crack. Simone had been cooperative throughout the investigation, but the scrutiny from every angle, the ship's crew, investigators, the media, and even the other passengers, became overwhelming. Simone knew that the longer Marcus remained missing, the more the spotlight would intensify. Simone eventually asked to speak privately with Chief Officer Rick Alvarez, the ship's head of security. During the meeting, Simone made a startling confession. Marcus had been hiding secrets, and their marriage was more complicated than anyone had realized. Simone revealed that while their marriage appeared strong to outsiders, it had been strained for the past few months. The arguments they had during the cruise were just the tip of the iceberg. According to Simone, Marcus had been growing increasingly paranoid, claiming that someone was watching him and tapping into his communications. At first, Simone thought Marcus was just stressed from his job, but Marcus's paranoia worsened, and he started talking about dangerous people who wanted something from him. Simone also admitted that Marcus had been working on something sensitive at his job, something he couldn't discuss even with Simone. He had mentioned that it involved national security, but the details were always vague. This secrecy had put a strain on their relationship, as Simone felt shut out from an important part of Marcus's life. Simone's confession painted a darker picture of Marcus's mental state in the months leading up to the cruise. Simone even suggested that Marcus's disappearance might have been deliberate, that he could have gone overboard to escape whoever was after him. This theory, though speculative, added another layer of complexity to the case and shifted some of the investigation's focus toward Marcus's professional life. Following Simone's confession, investigators started looking deeper into Marcus's professional background in cybersecurity. Marcus had been employed by a high-profile tech firm that specialized in secure communications for government agencies and large corporations. His work involved developing encryption software and other security protocols for sensitive data, making him a key player in safeguarding confidential information. This line of work put Marcus in contact with powerful clients and potentially sensitive information. Investigators began to consider whether Marcus's disappearance could be tied to his job. Had he uncovered something he shouldn't have? Was he targeted by someone who wanted to access the information he was protecting? To dig deeper into this theory, investigators contacted Marcus's employer to gain more insight into his recent projects. The company was tight-lipped, citing confidentiality agreements, but they did confirm that Marcus had been working on a high-stakes project involving government contracts. However, the company denied any knowledge of threats against Marcus, and there were no obvious signs that his work was putting him in immediate danger. Still, the discovery of the encrypted USB drive in Marcus's belongings, coupled with his increasingly paranoid behavior, raised concerns. Investigators obtained permission to search Marcus's work laptop, hoping to uncover more information about his activities in the days leading up to the cruise. What they found was troubling: encrypted files related to a high-level government contract, communications with unknown parties, and traces of external hacking attempts on his personal devices. These findings suggested that Marcus had been involved in something more serious than anyone had realized. As more information about Marcus's work and personal life came to light, new theories about his disappearance began to emerge. Investigators, passengers, and media outlets alike started to speculate on several possible explanations. 1. Accidental fall or suicide. This theory, the most straightforward, suggested that Marcus, possibly intoxicated and upset after his argument with Simone, had either accidentally fallen overboard or chosen to take his own life. However, the blood on the railing and Marcus's increasingly erratic behavior cast doubt on this explanation. 2. Foul play by a passenger or crew member. Given the inconsistent statements from Brian Carter and the Boyd cousins, some investigators theorized that Marcus may have been involved in an altercation with his friends that night. The blood on the balcony's railing suggested that Marcus could have been injured before going overboard, either in a fight or by accident. However, no solid evidence linked anyone directly to his disappearance. 3. Targeted attack due to Marcus's work. This theory gained traction as more details about Marcus's job and the encrypted files on his devices were uncovered. Investigators began to consider whether Marcus had been targeted by someone seeking access to the sensitive information he was protecting. Had someone aboard the ship, either a passenger or a hired operative, been sent to retrieve the data on Marcus's USB drive or laptop? 4. Marcus's own escape. Some investigators entertained the possibility that Marcus had staged his own disappearance. Given his increasing paranoia and belief that he was being followed, it was possible that Marcus had planned to vanish and start a new life under a different identity. This theory aligned with Simone's suggestion that Marcus might have deliberately gone overboard to escape his perceived pursuers. However, without concrete evidence, this remained speculative. As the investigation dragged on, hope of finding Marcus alive dwindled. The U.S. Coast Guard had conducted an extensive search of the waters surrounding the Majestic Horizon's last known location, but no trace of Marcus was found. After days of searching, they officially called off the search and rescue operation, concluding that if Marcus had gone overboard, he was unlikely to have survived. The Coast Guard's final report classified Marcus's disappearance as a presumed drowning, but it left many unanswered questions. Without a body or definitive proof of what had happened, the case remained open, and Marcus's fate became one of the Majestic Horizon's greatest mysteries. The media continued to cover the story, with some outlets declaring Marcus a tragic victim of circumstance, while others floated more sensational theories about conspiracies and foul play. Simone, meanwhile, returned home, still grieving and with no clear answers about what had happened to Marcus. Despite the investigation's efforts, the truth about what happened to Marcus Whitfield remained elusive, and the mystery of his disappearance would haunt those involved for years to come.